Hi there, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and today I have a trio of balloon-shaped cards featuring the April 2015 Simon Says Stamp card kit. And I die cut these balloons using the largest of the Simon Says Stamp balloon craft dies to create the actual shaped card. And I'm going to create three of them using the three cardstock colors, or the three bright cardstock colors included in the April kit. To start, I have trimmed my cardstock down to a standard size card and scored it at the top. So I simply took the 8.5 by 11 sheet, trimmed it in half lengthwise, then scored it, folded it in half, and then I laid the die so that it just barely hung over the top of the card. That's going to create that opening. So here you can see when I open it, it's going to have just that tiny little bit at the top where it folds open. So that is how you get the balloon-shaped card. Now I am going to add some texture by adding patterns to the background of the card. And I'm using 6x6 Simon Says Stamp stencils and then applying Distress Ink colors through that to give a fun pattern to the balloons. I'm using the Tiny Dots stencil here with the new Cracked Pistachio Distress Ink. I'm going to simply apply that ink through the stencil until I completely have it covered. So you saw I kind of lifted up a corner to see how it was covering and then laid it back down and then continued to apply the ink. Once I have that all, the pattern all there, I'm going to go ahead and ink the edges of the balloon to add just a little bit more definition and color. When you're working with the mini ink blending tools and Distress Ink, you want to start off the edge of your paper and work your way on so you don't get any of those harsh foam lines. And I actually ended up getting a couple of them here. I had a little bit too heavy of a hand, so I really had to work to blend those out so they weren't so noticeable. So I'm really blending and moving my way from the outside in so that the interior of the balloon, or the inside there, the center, is going to be much lighter than the outer edges. So I'll keep blending that till I get it exactly the way I want it to look, and blend out any of those harsh lines. And then I can go ahead and set this one aside. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other two colors of balloons. And I'm going to go ahead and die cut those exactly like I did this one. And I'm going to use different stencil patterns to add some designs to those as well. I really like the tone-on-tone monochromatic look. So that was what I was going for. You want to make sure you clean your craft sheet or work surface really well between each inking so that you don't have any colors transfer from one card to another. For the dull pink cardstock balloon, I am going to use the Picked Raspberry Distress Ink and the diagonal stripe die to create these diagonal stripes onto my balloon. Now you could tape your stencil down in place if you wanted to. I was kind of doing this really quickly and I didn't bother to use any tape to tape down my stencil. I simply kind of held it in place, moved my hand around until I got it the way I wanted it to look. Then I went ahead and took the ink blending tool and inked the edges of this balloon as well, just like I did with the mint one. Finally, I have this orange peel card, balloon shaped card, and I'm going to use the new Abandoned Coral Distress Ink for this one. I have to say that I didn't really think this was going to be my favorite card of the trio, but it really ended up being my favorite. I love how the Abandoned Coral looks with the Simon Says Stamp orange peel cardstock. I'm using the medium dots stencil for this one. Again, just applying it right through the stencil and then taking my ink blending tool and inking all of the edges of the balloon to add that little definition of color. So I'll just keep adding that ink and applying the ink until I get it exactly the way I want it to look. Next, I'm going to use the Misti Stamping Tool to perfectly align one of the large greetings from the stamp set in the kit. So I'm going to use my balloon, I'm going to lay my stamp that's uninked right there where I want it, then close the cover of the Misti and pick it up. I'm going to ink it up with Versamark ink, and then press it in place right there in the center of the balloon. What makes this great is if you're creating multiple cards like I am here and they're all exactly the same size, this makes it so that when you stamp the additional balloons, they are all going to end up exactly, the greeting text is going to end up exactly in the same spot for all 3 cards. I absolutely love that about the Misti. You don't have to worry about it's going to be slightly skewed or going one way or another, or maybe it doesn't end up in the exact same spot. Because I'm creating multiples and they all have the same greeting, they are all going to be exactly in the same place. I could have made this even easier and probably placed all these stars on the Misti as well and stamped it with all at once, the greeting and the stars. I didn't do that simply because I thought of the stars after I had already done the greetings. So that's just another option there that would have made this even quicker and much easier. So something to keep in mind if you want to create something similar. I am using the Versamark ink to stamp all of this, and then the Simon Says Stamp gold embossing powder to emboss all of these on the front of all of these cards. So here is what it's going to look like. I've already got it. It's still on the Misti lid. I just placed another card inside, stamped my greeting. Going to move that one out. I'll pop the pink one in here. You can see how quick and easy it is when you use the Misti to keep stamping multiples just one right after another. So easy. I love that. And again, I'll use the gold embossing powder on the other 2 cards and add the stamped and embossed stars as well. One of the great things about the stamp set included in the April kit is it has a whole bunch of phrase stamps. So I picked 2 of them and stamped them on the insides of the cards so they're finished as nicely as the outsides. So 2 of the cards have the same greeting and the other one has a different one, but all of them are just really super fun. Then I finished the cards with a scattering of Pretty Pink Posh sequins and tied a little lawn fawn lawn trimmings twine around the bottom to finish them off. I hope you've enjoyed this video showcasing the Simon Says Stamp April 2015 card kit. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.